don't enter their work area. This not only prevents others from distracting the team during their work, it also prevents any well-meaning but untrained employees from trying to lend a hand with a job. In this scenario, the entry team is using equipment that provides continuous air monitoring near the entrance breathing zone. The attendant periodically enters the results onto the permit. Any unsafe readings will immediately sound the alarm on the multi-gas monitor.
You not ready to take a break?
No, I'm just about finished.
As the attendant is communicating with the entrant, she's judging the entrant's behavior, looking for any signs the entrant may be in trouble.
What day of the week is it?
Friday, I'm doing good.
Slurred or slow speech, non-responsive answers, or difficulty with movement may indicate a problem. If you're the attendant, always remember you have the authority and the responsibility to order the entrant out of the space anytime you believe their safety has been compromised. In some permit spaces where verbal communication is not possible or effective, radios, hand signals, rope tugs, or even knocking on the outside of the space may be required so the attendant can maintain continuous communication with the entrant.
How's this job going, Julie?
It's just about ready to come up.
Great.
After the work has been completed, the entry supervisor records any notes regarding the entry, then cancels and files the permit. The same is true if the work is interrupted and cannot be completed. Of course, the final step is to secure the space just as it was before the entry operation to prevent unauthorized entry. Permits for work that has been completed or canceled must be maintained by the employer for a period of 1 year. When employees go into a confined space without understanding the dangers and without the appropriate equipment and training, those employees can get into serious trouble. Controlling the urge to help a coworker may be one of the most difficult challenges of a permit space incident. We saw that at the beginning of this training when Joel rushed to assist Steve. Seeing Steve collapse on the floor, Joel realizes Steve needs help. He may think Steve has become ill or he's injured himself. Joel's instinct is to rescue his friend, but his instinct is dead wrong. The first reaction of an attendant before getting help or calling rescue services may be to enter the space. Very often, they become second victims. Unfortunately, a number of confined space fatalities involve would-be rescuers. For this reason, it's critical attendants are fully aware of the hazards of a confined space and don't attempt a rescue unless they're trained to do so. Clearly, your employer wants to prevent the need for an emergency rescue. But if something should go wrong during a permit space entry, your employer is required to use a trained emergency rescue team. The team can be made up of on-site employees or an outside service. Regardless of which type of rescue service your employer uses, they must have the knowledge, skills, and equipment to safely execute a rescue. Just as you've trained and planned for entering a permit-required confined space, you can count on the rescue team to also be qualified for the job. OSHA requires rescue teams to be trained to perform rescues in the kinds of confined spaces you will be entering. At least one member of the rescue team must hold a current certification in first aid and CPR, and they must be prepared to respond quickly. Let's watch how our experienced entry team handles a permit space incident.
Jill, are you okay? Jill, can you hear me? Dave, call emergency services. Jill's not responding.
Okay, bring her up.
When an incident occurs, time is critical. This means calling for help immediately so trained rescuers can be on the way while the attendant attempts a non-entry rescue to remove the entrant from the space.
Bring her up. Nice and slow. Keep going.
In our example, the entrant is wearing a safety harness with a cable attached to a mechanical retrieval device. Using this device, the attendant can lift the entrant out of the space without having to enter or wait for additional equipment. If entry and exit are accomplished using a side entry access, wrist or ankle bracelets, as well as mechanical winches, may provide an adequate means to rescue an entrant without the need for a safety harness. The key is to plan ahead for the possibility of a rescue. Clearly, well-trained and properly equipped rescuers are crucial to preventing tragedy if a permit space incident occurs. Over and over, experience has demonstrated permit spaces are dangerous places with the potential to cause very serious injury or worse. In fact, every year, OSHA is faced with investigating permit space fatalities.
The one thing that I wish everybody would take home with confined space training is that they need to be responsible for their own safety. Don't rely on somebody else to check the atmosphere, to do your lockout tagout for you. You're the one that's going in that space. You're the one that wants to be going home to your family. Make sure that you take the proper steps needed to keep you safe.
At the beginning of this training, we saw Joel and Steve attempting a permit space entry. We saw Steve get into trouble, and we saw Joel's first impulse was to enter the space to help Steve. Fortunately, when Joel saw Steve in trouble, he remembered his training and did the smart thing. He called for help. For those who have had a close call, the dangers of confined spaces are never forgotten. By following the regulations and the procedures your employer has established in the written permit entry safety program, and by participating in ongoing training, you can help to ensure you and your coworkers don't fall victim to the many potential hazards of permit-required confined spaces.